Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Sian and I love making videos about the 3 C's: crime, cults, and just creepy ass things, anything disturbing, morbid, or anything that just kind of freaks me out a little. I love making videos of, but especially cults. You guys have been loving cults, so this week there's another cult video and I'm not complaining because they are definitely my favorite C out of the 3 that we've been doing. Without further ado, let's get into it. What if everything you thought you knew about humanity's origins was a complete lie? We weren't created by chance or divine intervention, but by extraterrestrials. Meet the Elohim, a race of advanced beings who designed human life using unimaginable technology. But where it gets even stranger is that only 4% of humanity is said to be intelligent enough to understand their truth. Who are the Elohim? What do they want? And why has this movement attracted many followers, controversy, and lots of fascination worldwide? Let's dive into one of the most bizarre and thought-provoking belief systems ever. This is Raëlism. So Raëlism, also called Raëlism, is a religion based on the belief that Earth was completely created by extraterrestrials. It was founded in the 1970s in France by a man named Claude Verlan, who now goes by the name Raël. Scholars refer to Raëlism as a new religious movement, and its main organization is the International Raelian Movement, also known as the IRM, and it's also been referred to as the Raelian Church, which is also led by Raël himself. According to Raelians, the Elohim, a group of aliens with very advanced technology, created human beings. Raëlism is an atheistic religion, which means it doesn't believe in gods. Instead, it claims that people throughout history have actually mistaken the Elohim for gods. Raelians say that the Elohims have, over time, created 40 hybrid beings who are part Elohim and part human. These hybrids have served as prophets to prepare humanity to learn about its origins, its true origins. Raelians also believe that after the first atomic bomb was used in Hiroshima in 1945, humanity entered an age of apocalypse, where it risks its own destruction through nuclear warfare. They believe that humanity must use both science and technology for peaceful purposes. Once this is achieved, the Raelians say that the Elohim will return to Earth, share their knowledge, and help create a utopian society. To prepare for this, the Raelians want to build an embassy for the Elohim, complete with a landing pad for their spaceship. Raelians have daily meditation practices and believe in the possibility of physical immortality through cloning. They promote a very liberal lifestyle that emphasizes freedom, particularly around sexuality. So in 1974, Raël first shared his story of being contacted by the Elohim in a book called Le Livre que de la Vérité. I know, very good French. And this title means the book that tells the truth. Raël claimed that on December 13th of 1973, he had actually met the Elohim and received a message meant for humanity. According to Raël, the Elohim had told him that they had come to Earth 25,000 years ago and created life through their ability to manipulate DNA. Raël says that he was then given his new name, which means one who brings the light of the Elohim, or messenger of the Elohim. And right then and there, he was appointed as their ambassador on Earth. His mission, he says, is to warn humanity that it has entered the age of apocalypse after the Hiroshima bombing and must now choose between self-destruction or peaceful cooperation. Raël's first organization, called MADEC, was started to promote his ideas but was later dissolved in 1976. It was then replaced by the Raelian Church, which is structured around a 7-level hierarchy and has continued to grow, attracting many new followers. After relocating from France to Quebec, the group bought a very large property and called it their base. Raël later established what's called the Order of the Angels in 1998, which was an all-female group tasked with preparing to be companions to the Elohim if they ever returned to Earth. In 1997, Raël started an organization called Clonaid, and this was led by a senior Raëlian called Bridget Boisilea, and was started to work on human cloning. In 2002, Clonaid actually claimed to have created a human clone, a baby named Eve, which brought them a lot of media coverage and a lot of criticism. The International Raëlian movement says that it has tens of thousands of members worldwide, with most of its followers in French-speaking areas in Europe and North America, as well as parts of East Asia. The group has faced a lot of criticism from journalists, former members, and anti-cult activists, but it has also been studied by a lot of religious scholars. Raëlism has been classified by scholars as a UFO religion, a UFO movement, and an ETI, which is extraterrestrial intelligence religion. Some see it as very materialistic, meaning it doesn't believe in the supernatural or gods, and it also endorses atheism. Raëlism actually claims to be a scientific religion, with the motto, "Science is our religion, religion is our science." Its followers believe that science can solve all of the world's problems and regard Raël as a pioneering thinker who will eventually be respected like Galileo and Copernicus. The IRM particularly emphasizes that Raëlians are not ufologists, which are people who study UFOs, but instead hold beliefs about extraterrestrial life as part of their religion. The Bible also plays an important role in Raëlism's teachings, which are described as both biblical and Christian by some religious scholars. Raël claims that Christianity misinterpreted the Bible, which he believes supports Raëlian ideas. Raëlism is not known for being very inclusive of other religions, so new followers are expected to renounce their previous religious affiliations when joining Raëlism. On October 7th of 1975, Raël claimed to have another encounter with the Elohim. During this meeting, the Elohim supposedly taught him their rules for a meaningful life, which inspired him to write Les extraterrestres m'ont emmené sur le planète. Gorgeous, I know. This means extraterrestrials took me to their planet. In this book, Raël describes his journey to the Elohim's planet and the way they live, including their political system, which only allows the most intelligent to govern. During this visit, Raël actually for the first time learned about the sensual meditation technique that his followers later started practicing. The Raëlian movement has become pretty well known for its public actions and protests in support of women's and gays' rights and against nuclear testing. It is thought to be the largest UFO religion in existence, and in the mid-2000s, a religious scholar called Andreas called it one of the most consolidated UFO groups internationally active today. Raëlism is different from other UFO religions such as the Etherius Society or Heaven's Gates, which are influenced by beliefs of the 19th century religion of Theosophy. Raëlism does not follow Theosophy and instead focuses on science and atheism. Like I mentioned earlier, Raëlism was established in France and first spread to French-speaking areas in Europe, Africa, and North America. By the mid-1990s, most of its members were in France, Quebec, and Japan. In 1999, researcher Bozeman actually estimated the group had about 35,000 members. And by 2003, Chrysitis estimated the number had grown to 55,000 worldwide. By the early 2010s, the group claimed 60,000 members, though other researchers believed that this number was likely exaggerated. In Britain, sociologist Eileen Barker reported only about a dozen very dedicated members in 1989, but by 2001, David V. Barrett estimated there were around 40 to 50 committed members and about 500 sympathizers in the country. A 1988 internal survey of the Raëlian members discovered that there were twice as many men than women that were part of the Raëlian society. Palmer actually suggested that Raëlism attracted people who considered themselves as sexually marginal, noting that some attendees were trans and many women actually worked as strippers. She also believed that it appealed to committed atheists who struggled with existential questions in a secular world lacking higher values. I just want to speak a little bit about Raëlians and how they get more of their members and how their members convert. So Raëlians actively engage in missionary work to recruit new members. They actually sell Raël's books on the streets, aiming to recover the cost of their purchase. However, they often face resistance, which Raël explains by claiming that the Elohim told him that only 4% of humanity is intelligent enough to understand their message. Forcing someone to convert to Raëlism is prohibited, and violators are actually banned from the group for 7 years. A period that the Raëlians believe it takes for every single cell on the human body to regenerate. Since 1979, members must sign an act of apostasy, which includes sending a letter of renunciation to any religious group they may have belonged to before. They also sign a contract allowing a bone in their forehead called the third eye to be removed after they die. This bone is then preserved in a Swiss facility, hoping that it can be used for cloning when the Elohim return to Earth. This process is called the lifting of the frontal bone, and members are also encouraged but not required to leave all of their assets to the Raëlian group in their will. Some former Christian clergy have joined Raëlism, and they have quickly been promoted to leadership because of their previous experiences. For example, in 2004, Ron Boston, a former bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, joined the movement, saying it allowed him to embrace his homosexuality. So now we're just going to speak a little bit about the beliefs of the Raëlians. So we know that it is based on the teachings of Raël, whose followers take his claims very seriously and his writings like sacred scripture. Susan Palmer, who studied Raël and his philosophy, believed that he truly thought that his claims were completely real. And religious sociologist Christopher Partridge noted that Raëlism has a strong belief in physical reality. Raëlism is actually a version of the ancient astronauts theory, which was quite popular at the time. Several French writers in the 1960s and 1970s had actually written that Earth might be an outpost of ancient extraterrestrials. In 1968, Erich von Daniken's book Chariots of the Gods also promoted this idea, and although Raëlians deny von Daniken's influence, they believe their teachings come from Raël's revelations. Like I mentioned earlier, Raëlism teaches about the Elohim, an extraterrestrial species. Raël actually claims that the term Elohim, used for God in the Old Testament, is plural and means those who came from the sky. Raël actually calls one of these beings Aloha, and he says that this being gave him the name Raël, which means the messenger of those who come from the sky. Raël says that the Elohim's planet is actually in the Milky Way, with 90,000 quasi-immortal Elohim living there. He describes their society as very open, without jealousy, where free love is allowed and many undergo sterilization. They can apparently communicate with all humans and, according to Raël, are more feminine in manner than humans. Raëlism also teaches that the Elohim came to Earth 25,000 years ago, transforming it to support life. Raëlians believe that Elohim created human life, and that the Elohim's image is reflected in human form, as suggested by Genesis 1 verse 26. According to Raël, a scientist named Yahweh created the very first humans, Adam and Eve, to resemble Elohim's 7 races, although only 4 of those races remain. Raëlians believe in intelligent design and scientific creationism, which they say is proven by the human resemblance to the Elohim. Raël also claims that the Elohim were created by a species before them, which suggests an infinite cycle of creators. Raëlians think that mythologies worldwide are misunderstanding of encounters with the Elohim. Stories of gods and religious miracles, like Jesus' resurrection, are actually seen as examples of the Elohim's influence on Earth. Satan, for instance, is seen as an Elohim opposing human creation. The flood story of Noah's Ark is believed to tell of the Elohim's rescue mission after another group tried to eliminate all of humanity. Various religious figures like Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad are actually seen as prophets sent by the Elohim. Raël claims that he is the last prophet sent to reveal the truth now that humanity is ready. He was chosen, he says, because of his background and because France is seen as open-minded. Raël later claims that these prophets were conceived through human mothers and Elohim fathers. Raël states that he himself is the biological son of Yahweh, which makes Jesus his half-brother, and he believes that he hears Yahweh's voice guiding him. Raëlians believe that the Elohim monitor each person on earth from their planet to determine who deserves eternal life. They view crop circles and UFO sightings as signs of the Elohim, and Raëlians actually think that they can all link telepathically to the Elohim, though only Raël can meet them directly. The Elohim are described as smaller than humans with a pale green skin and almond-shaped eyes, and they are said to belong to 7 distinct races. Raëlians are actually completely forbidden from ever painting or sketching their creators. Like I mentioned earlier, Raëlism holds that since the atomic bomb was dropped in 1945, humanity has been in an age of apocalypse. This means it must choose between either destruction or a peaceful, scientifically advanced society. Raëlians believe that if humans avoid nuclear disaster, the Elohim will eventually return to Earth with the 39 prophets that they had sent before. So the Raëlians are to build an embassy with a spaceship landing pad, ideally on neutral land. So Raël initially sought to build this in Israel, calling it the Third Temple, but he later suggested some other locations like Hawaii. If the Elohim do not return by 2035, Raëlians will adjust their views accordingly. And I really hope that I remember this in 2035, because then I will come and tell you how they have adjusted their views. Over the years, Raëlians have actually raised millions for their embassy, hoping that the Elohim will eventually share their wisdom and knowledge, bringing about a technological utopia on Earth. Raël predicts that they will bring about a new system called geniocracy, or rule by geniuses, where only the highly intelligent will govern, similar to Plato's Republic. This new society would end war, crime, and money, while embracing pleasure and exploration. Robots would take over mediocre tasks, freeing people to enjoy their life, and Raël even envisions biological robots as sex partners. Raëlians do not believe in immortal soul, but think that the Elohim can offer immortality through cloning to select humans. They actually argue that the Elohim brought back Jesus in this way. Raëlians support human cloning technology and believe cloning could even be used to revive criminals for punishment. After the 9/11 attacks, Raëlians suggested resurrecting the terrorists for trial, and Raëlism also opposes suicide, viewing it as a barrier to their goal of scientific immortality. Raëlians also wish to achieve advanced cloning where individuals could quickly grow into adulthood, and Raël compares restrictions on cloning to past bans on medical advances like antibiotics. Raëlism promotes personal responsibility, respect for diversity, non-violence, and resource sharing. Although Raëlians support democracy, they believe that geniocracy will eventually replace it for better governance. Followers are advised to avoid recreational drugs but are allowed to drink if they want to. Scholars view Raëlians' ethics as liberal, and the group is world-affirming, meaning that they embrace life rather than rejecting it. Raëlians consider gender a very flexible concept, with Raël often seen as gentle and feminine. He's actually suggested that women are superior to men, as Elohim beings are mostly feminine. But he says that Earth women are only a fraction as feminine as the Elohim. So Raëlians believe that everything is in everything, meaning that every living thing contains even smaller living things down to an infinite scale. Inside the atoms of any living being are even tinier living beings, all made up of atoms. This pattern repeats itself endlessly, going from the smallest to the largest scales. The universe itself is thought to be contained within an atom of another larger universe, creating a cycle that continues infinitely. Due to differences in scale, time would pass extremely slowly inside the atoms of a living being compared to our experiences of time. For example, countless centuries might pass inside the atoms before a living thing takes a single step. Raëlians see the universe as completely endless, without any center or boundary, which makes it pretty hard to imagine where a soul would go after it dies. They believe that infinity exists both in space and time, affecting all levels of life. Raëlians think that humanity will only be able to create life on other planets once we become peaceful and stop fighting in war. If humanity actually reaches this state, they believe that we could travel across the stars and create life everywhere. With advancements in terraforming, molecular biology, and human cloning, we could design continents and start life from scratch. Social engineering would also ensure that these newly created beings would survive and maybe even understand their creators. These scientific advancements would keep the cycle of life going, creating an ongoing chain of existence. According to Yahweh, which is the extraterrestrial that Raël met in 1973, the Elohim came to a barren earth, split the clouds to allow sunlight, built a continent, and created a functioning ecosystem. Yahweh also gave scientific explanations to events in the Bible, saying that the Garden of Eden was a large laboratory, Noah's Ark was actually a spaceship carrying DNA samples, and the Tower of Babel was a rocket trying to reach Elohim's planet. And apparently the Great Flood was a result of a nuclear explosion that the Elohim caused. Afterward, they spread the Israelites and made them speak different languages. Raëlians reject traditional beliefs in reincarnation and a soul separate from the body. Instead, they believe that the Elohim's supercomputers are recording people's memories and their DNA, which will be used for a resurrection during the coming judgment. People would be brought to life and judged based on their past actions. Those who didn't accomplish anything significant would not be recreated, but Raël has suggested that figures like Hitler could be cloned for trials and punishment. He also proposed that cloning could prevent suicide terrorists from escaping justice, as the Elohim could recreate them for posthumous judgment. So now we're just going to speak a little bit about the practices and the hierarchy of the Raëlians. So the Raëlians gather on the third Sunday of each month to meet with fellow followers, though they always rent spaces instead of owning any Raëlian property. In Montreal, Raël actually often attends these gatherings himself. The main ritual in Raëlism is called the transmission of the cellular plan. During the ceremony, a Raëlian guide places his hand on the head of a member to receive that person's cellular code and telepathically send it to the Elohim. This ritual serves as a kind of initiation or a baptism and is a formal way of recognizing the Elohim as humanity's creators. Only Raëlian bishops and priests are allowed to conduct these initiations, and when Raël is present, he sometimes initiates a sequence where he touches a bishop's head, who then touches a priest's, who finally touches a new member, which completes the whole transmission. These transmissions only occur on 4 specific dates each year, which are important on the Raëlian calendar. The first recorded ceremony took place in April of 1976, when Raël initiated 40 people on the rock plat. The Raëlian calendar actually starts on the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima on August 6th of 1945, marking each year as AH, or after Hiroshima. Raëlians observe 4 major festivals each year, 2 of which honor Raël's reported encounters with the Elohim. These celebrations include the first Sunday in April, marking the creation of the first humans by Elohim. The second one is August 6th, which commemorates the Hiroshima bombing. The third one is October 7th, which is when Raël claims to have met the Elohim a second time in 1974. And the fourth one is December 13th, which is Raël's first reported encounter with the Elohim in 1973. Earlier, we spoke a little bit about the sensual meditation, which is something that Raël learned from the Elohim. It's another important practice in Raëlism, as outlined in Raël's 1980 book called La Méditation Sensuelle. Raëlians are encouraged to engage in this meditation daily, to feel love, connect with the Elohim, and find harmony within the universe. Often they listen to a guided tape during their meditation. Sensual meditation is also done in group at monthly meetings, where Raëlian guides lead the meditation in a dimly lit room, with New Age music sometimes playing in the background. The meditation starts with a relaxation exercise called Harmonisation avec l'infini, which means harmonization with the infinite. This process involves deep breathing or oxygenation to relax. Practitioners then envision themselves as small within the universe, followed by imagining their bones, their organs, and even their atoms. They are then guided to imagine themselves on the Elohim's planet, mentally connecting with these beings. Some Raëlians report feelings of physical well-being, heightened psychic abilities, or even sexual arousal during these meditations. They interpret this as a sign of telepathic contact with the Elohim. The ultimate goal of this meditation is to reach a cosmic orgasm, described as the peak experience of unity between oneself and the universe. The Raëlian Church hosts week-long summer seminars known as Stages of Awakening. These seminars include daily lectures from Raël, sessions of sensual meditation, times for fasting and feasting, personal testimonials, and alternative therapies. Activities can include gender fluidity exercises, where attendees may dress in the clothes of the opposite gender, and activities like self-observation and masturbation, all of which have attracted lots of media attention. Raelians use these seminars to build relationships and friendships, and participants often wear white togas with name tags. In 1991, a journalist actually recorded couples engaging in sexual activities in tents at one of these seminars. This led to a lot of public attention. So, like I mentioned earlier, the International Raelian Movement has plans for an embassy with a aseptic chamber and a conference room for 21 people, as well as a dining room for the same size. The embassy will have 7 rooms for human guests, and the building will be located in the center of a large park, surrounded by a wall to protect it from trespassers. The embassy will have a northern and southern entrance, a landing pad for the spaceship, and rooms for the extraterrestrials under the landing pad. There will be thick metal doors protecting these rooms from others. The embassy will also reportedly be shielded from military and radar surveillance. In February of 1991, the Raelian Church actually changed their symbol to remove the swastika to help negotiate building the Third Temple of Israel. The official reason was that the Elohim had actually personally requested the change to help with negotiations for building the embassy, though the country of Israel actually ended up denying their request. On December 13th of 1997, the leader of the IRM decided that the embassy could be built outside of Jerusalem and would include a large water feature. The planned embassy area is still intended to cover at least 3.47 square kilometers, with a radius of around 1.5 kilometers. I mentioned earlier that the Raelians actually believe in a form of government called geniocracy, and this emphasizes intelligence over mediocrity. In this system, the voters must be 10% above average intelligence, and candidates must be 50% above average intelligence. Raelians think that a world government is only possible with a global currency, a common language, and a transformation of military into civil police forces. Raël's book, Extraterrestrials Took Me to Their Planet, describes how humanitarianism, which Raelians follow, came from an extraterrestrial. Under humanitarianism, people do not own businesses or goods created by others. Instead, they rent them for 49 years, and any rent not inherited after 49 years are given to the state. Family houses can be inherited without rent. In his later book, Maitreya, Raël argues that capitalism, not communism, will lead to a world without money. He says that capitalism allows people to contribute to society and scientific progress, but as technology advances, it will lower the cost of goods and put many people out of work. Critics, like the anti-cult group InfoCult, have labeled geniocracy a fascist ideology, but Raelians argue that it is not a political party and allows for various beliefs. Raelians believe that love involves breaking habits and experiencing new ways of connecting with people. They think that it is key to stopping war and injustice. They support adult relationships of all sexual orientations and believe that society should legally recognize them. So there you have it, a religion that believes aliens created us and that they are going to return to Earth in 2035, and if they don't return to Earth, they're going to change all of their views. This was by far one of the most interesting researches of my life into a cult group. And can I just say, the cosmic orgasm sounds out of this world, if you know what I mean. No, but seriously, I would love to just hear one of the Raelians speak about that and listen to what it actually feels like. Although some of their beliefs are actually pretty cool and actually I can kind of relate to, this still just shows how people can literally just be brainwashed into believing anything. I mean, this guy has met aliens on 2 separate occasions of his life, and you now believe in his teachings and writings and take his scripture as completely sacred. If you ask me, the guy was probably on acid or something. But you know what? I'm not judging. I'm not saying any of this is true or false. Believe what you want. This is a judgment-free zone. But if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit like. And if you like this kind of content, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And I will see you next week for another creepy, culty, or crimey video. Love you guys lots. Bye.